Hello, everybody. My name is Donal Whelan, and welcome to the Lincoln Lens. At Lincoln Recruitment, we began the Lincoln Lens with the prime objective of providing our community with a forum to share insights and commentary in relation to some of the most topical issues in the Irish employment market. Throughout the series, we will be hosting a number of interviews, seminars, and webinars to provide you with some up-to-date insights across our markets, which you'll hopefully find beneficial. I'm delighted to say that for this next session, I'm joined by two esteemed guests from IOB, who are here to discuss with us the innovative new concept of EdQ, a unique blockchain-based education credentialing platform for the financial services sector. Kevin Gallen's with us today. Kevin joined IOB in January 2012, where he is currently Deputy Chief Executive. Prior to that, Kevin worked in banking for a total of 35 years with both Ulster Bank and Danske Bank. He held a number of senior executive positions, including Deputy Chief Executive at Danske and Director of Corporate Affairs and Communication at Ulster Bank. Kevin has been the executive sponsor of the EdQ blockchain project for IOB. Sandra Sweeney is a director and EdQ business owner at IOB, where she has worked for over 20 years. Sandra has held a number of positions with the Institute over those years, and most recently as Director of Lifelong Learning. Sandra stepped out of this role in January 2020 to act as business owner for the EdQ project and has recently been appointed Chief Risk and Compliance Officer at IOB. EdQ really is an exciting project and a great example of innovation in the financial services and education sectors. So I'm really delighted to have Sandra and Kevin with us today and looking forward to finding out more during this conversation. So thanks again both for joining. So maybe we might kick off the conversation, Sandra, with you, and perhaps you could give us, I suppose, an overview of exactly what IOB does and the role that you play in the sector.
Sure, yeah, thanks very much, Donal, and we're delighted to be here today to talk to you about EdQ. So IOB, we are the largest professional membership body in Ireland. We've almost 34,000 members. We're an all-Ireland body, so we've members from north and south. We're a recognised college of UCD, so all of our awards are accredited and awarded by UCD. We are the leading provider of applied education and learning to the financial services sector, so we cover both retail and international financial services. We had almost 8,500 students studying with us last year across 42 accredited programmes. And those programmes range from level 7, 8 and 9 on the National Framework of Qualifications, so certificates, diplomas, through to postgraduate and master's programmes. We also offer 14 professional designations, including the regulatory designations that are required to work in financial services. So, for example, the Qualified Financial Advisor, a QFA designation that you may have come across. We are the largest provider of continuing professional development, CPD, in Ireland, and almost 24,000 members continue their learning with us post-qualification on various CPD programmes. So IOB, we undertake a central role in supporting banks and financial services firms in complying with the central bank's minimum competency and fitness and probity requirements. And these requirements set out, specify qualifications and competence and ongoing CPD for certain roles in financial services, so like retail financial advisors. We also provide a range of micro-learning, short sprint programs and curated content. We've been around for a very long time. We were founded in 1898 and we're not-for-profit.
It's been a long time, hasn't it?
It has been.
Luckily, both of you aren't there that long. Thank you, Sandra. And Kevin, if you don't mind, I might just read a little excerpt that I read from Minister of Finance Paschal O'Donoghue in terms of what he said about EdQ recently. He comments, "It's an excellent example of how innovation and collaboration can deliver real change and help prepare Ireland for the future, which very much aligns with the government's Future of Jobs initiative and the Ireland Finance Strategy." Really is very high praise, and you must be both delighted with that. So perhaps you could give us some more detailed overview, if that's okay, of EdQ, where the concept came from, what other institutions were involved, etc.
Absolutely, Donal. Thank you. And we're obviously delighted with those very supporting comments from Minister Donoghue. So let me explain EdQ and what it is. It's a unique blockchain-based education credentialing platform that provides real-time access and an immutable or an unalterable trusted source of learning credentials. Given IOB's privileged position as the industry's leading educator, as Sandra has just described, EdQ provides a collective national framework for managing education qualifications, those regulatory and other professional designations that Sandra mentioned, micro-credentials, and continuing professional development, or CPD, across financial services. So the project was led by us in IOB, and the innovation is as a result of an industry collaboration with AIB, Bank of Ireland, Ulster Bank, and with Deloitte. And Deloitte are a leading blockchain consultancy, and their European blockchain lab is located in Dublin. The idea itself, the concept, it originated from a Bank of Ireland innovation programme, and Bank of Ireland completed a proof of concept with Deloitte, following which it was identified that an industry solution would be ideal. And that's where we came in. And it was at that stage that we became involved in leading the collaboration and investing in the development of the blockchain platform. So from concept to final production, the project has taken 3 years to complete. And we're very proud to be able to claim that this is the first blockchain of its type in operation in the world. So world first. Phase 1 of the project provides banks and other financial services firms with an intuitive self-service portal where institutions can access a single view of their staff education qualifications, professional designations, those learning credentials, and of course those all-important CPD records, and that's all in real time. It assures the institution, the bank, of their staff qualifications. It reduces the regulatory and operational risk from the bank's perspective, and it provides key supports to the banks and other institutions so that they can effectively and efficiently meet their regulatory responsibilities. So corporate portal, that's what was launched in February last as part of phase 1, and a little later I think Sandra will share our plans for the next phase and the benefits for individuals.
Very good. Thanks, Kevin. You've kind of alluded to it there, but a significant amount of work has gone into this over the last 3 years, I think you mentioned.
That's right.
In terms of the project to date. Can you give us, I suppose, a bit more of an overview of that journey and kind of the steps in that journey, if that's okay?
Absolutely. Yeah, as I said, the project took 3 years from concept to final production, and some of the key milestones were in July 2018, the proof of concept was completed by Bank of Ireland and Deloitte. It obviously started earlier than that. Then in February 2019, that's where we became involved, where we agreed to fund the project and lead the industry collaboration. A pilot was commenced, and this was completed successfully in July 2019. Then in October 2019, UCD agreed to commence a separate pilot, and it was successfully completed in February 2020, just before COVID started. And we then started the final phase, the production phase of the project last September. And the EdQ blockchain platform was built over that period and delivered in January of this year, and was then launched publicly in February. So that's sort of the key milestones during that journey. We had some exciting days and some nail-biting days, but it was just such a fantastic project to be involved in. So innovative, working in a blockchain lab with Deloitte, which is a different type of work environment, I can tell you. So a great journey, a great outcome.
Absolutely. And to be involved in something that is a world's first and anything is hugely exciting. I mean, it must be exciting for you all to be involved in it.
Very much so. I suppose, it's a great partnership with ourselves and Deloitte. They had the blockchain expertise.
Yeah.
We had the deep education and industry knowledge. But what's really important, and it wouldn't have worked, and I really want to emphasize this, is the collaboration with the three banks, because this is an industry platform. And if we hadn't the collaboration of AIB, Bank of Ireland and Ulster and their experts working with us and with Deloitte, it just wouldn't have happened. So I think it's a great example of successful collaboration.
Absolutely, would never get off the ground without their buy-in. 100%. Okay, thank you, Kevin. Blockchain itself, Sandra, do I throw this question at you? It's certainly a new. So obviously, we've all heard of blockchain, but it's still a relatively new concept for all of us. Certainly is for me. So maybe we get into that a little bit detail, and just kind of, if you could describe for us in layman's terms exactly what it is and why was it so important in the development of EdQ?
Sure, yeah. I think as Kevin said, we were very lucky to have the technical knowledge and expertise of Dublin blockchain team and Antonio Senatore and his team. So certainly coming at it from a layperson's point of view. I think when a lot of people think of blockchain or hear of blockchain, they immediately think of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And I suppose the first thing to say is it's not Bitcoin, but Bitcoin transactions are recorded on blockchain. So blockchain is a type of database effectively, and it stores data in blocks rather than in tables that would be in a traditional database. And then these are chained together, so hence the name blockchain. So blockchain records that a transaction happened, when it happened, and that it happened correctly. And it's also known as distributed ledger technology. DLT is another name that people might be familiar with. And it provides a way for information to be recorded, shared and maintained by a community. So that community would all have a node on the chain. So you could actually have a chain made up of hundreds or even many thousands of nodes. So by securely storing data across the network, records of a transaction can't be altered. So really, I suppose, accuracy, traceability and trust are the key blockchain advantages. Records on the blockchain are immutable, which means that data can't be changed or deleted.
Okay.
It also facilitates what are called smart contracts. So they're like what-if statements. So I suppose in a learning context, you could have, if a staff member completes a qualification, then pay an award of X. So you could have that, say, in financial services for an individual passing a particular IOB qualification.
Yeah.
And I suppose even just to put it into context, I think most of us read recently that Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, he sold his first tweet for $2.9 million. And that was sold as a non-fungible token, so effectively a unique type of digital asset. And it was sold on a blockchain platform called Valuables. So I suppose it just shows that ownership and validity of any transaction can be tracked on a blockchain.
Okay.
And I suppose why blockchain for us, I think, as I said, it really comes back to that transparency and security. Because transactions can't be altered after the fact and the history of transactions can be retrieved and they're auditable at all times, this would say, for example, make it harder to tamper with exam results.
Yeah.
And then that shared governance model. So the idea is that we would have multiple education bodies on the platform, each with their own node, and then they would retain ownership of their student records, but while we're all collaborating on a common platform. So it allows just for a wider ecosystem of professional bodies and universities, so that essentially an individual could hold multiple qualifications and awards, etc., in a wallet.
Okay. So it really comes down to that trust piece, doesn't it? So it's an individual and a company itself can trust the validity of the information that's being stored, and that's all driven through the technology of blockchain.
Absolutely, yeah. That immutability is and trust is absolutely key.
Okay, very good. So the concept couldn't, again, similar to the collaboration that you mentioned, Kevin. The concept could not have got off the ground with the collaboration. Similarly, this could not have got off the ground without the innovation of blockchain itself.
Yeah, absolutely. At the concept stage, various options or solutions were considered. And with the advice of Deloitte, we landed on blockchain as the best solution, and particularly future-proofs the solution and the platform for the longer term.
Absolutely. Okay, and in terms of the benefits, I think you touched upon this briefly earlier, Kevin, but clearly there's a lot of benefits that otherwise there was no point in developing the concept, right? So there's a lot of benefits from the point of view of corporate institutions. I mean, I can see this myself as a recruitment professional, that this is positively going to impact on the labour market, and with reference to onboarding new staff, for example. So I know there's a whole host of benefits. Could you maybe talk us through those, just what they would be for corporates?
Yeah. Absolutely. And the onboarding one, Donal, is a really interesting issue. It came to light for me during the consultation phase of the project, when we met with some of the chief executives of the retail banks and of the investment banks and funds companies. And an issue that they mentioned frequently was the long lead time in relation to onboarding staff. Typically, they mentioned 6 weeks as a lead time in terms of the time that's needed to validate education qualifications and professional designations, and it provides this unalterable trusted source of qualifications. The validation process can potentially happen in minutes, because the individual can digitally share the information with their prospective employer. Indeed, it could happen there and then at an interview. Where they could actually share that information. That's a really significant benefit. And particularly if you think about validating qualifications from other countries and from different jurisdictions. So that's one that themselves, firms and the industry, when we talk to them, highlight it as one of the key benefits.
Yeah, I can certainly see that. I mean, I'm imagining a situation where you've got somebody who's in an interview and they're able to take out their phone. I'm assuming you can get it on your phone. You're able to validate. Yeah, these are my certifications. I mean, it's going to alter the recruitment process in many ways, I think, as well, where you're instantaneously able to verify your academic background.
Absolutely. No, it's very exciting.
Okay. So there are the advantages from a corporate point of view. Sandra, I know you wanted to touch upon the benefits for individuals. Perhaps you could go through that with us.
Sure. I suppose the real benefit for individuals, so our members and students, is ownership of their verified learning credentials. As Kevin said, we've the functionality is developed so for rollout in the next phase of the project, where individuals will hold their learning credentials. So that is sort of education qualifications, transcripts, professional designations, micro-credentials, CPD records, all in a digital wallet on their smartphone, and they have real-time access to their own verified data. And I think, as we've touched on there, they will have the ability to share their learning credentials with both current employers via the corporate portal that we have launched and built, and also then with prospective employers, recruiters, or indeed any other third party. So, for example, another professional body or university for recognised prior learning purposes. And as we said there, a member could actually share their learning credentials with a prospective employer during the interview. So I suppose the days of hunting down paper transcripts, paying for copies, waiting weeks for them to arrive will all cease.
Yeah.
And absolutely, as Kevin has said, reduce the onboarding process with new employers, and that has, as Kevin said, been a real pain point both for employees and employers. And then with other bodies on the platform, an individual could create a learning CV over their lifetime. And if we, I suppose, in the future, we would plan a direct link with employers' management systems via an API that we've built as part of the platform, or multiple APIs that we've built as part of the platform. So that could result in employers actually pushing data into EdQ. So pushing things like training, skills, competencies. Okay. So in fact, you could build up a verified lifetime learning and career CV. So, absolutely reduce CV fraud and just facilitate, I suppose, more efficient transfers, for example, between universities or professional bodies.
Absolutely. I have the onboarding piece in my mind is just a huge, huge benefit. I mean, I suppose I'm probably being biased in that regard because it's something that I do for a living. But just having that instantaneous piece around verification, I think is just fascinating and a huge development for the sector, for the industry. So thanks for that, Sandra. You mentioned, Sandra, kind of the other educational bodies. Kevin, perhaps you might be able to go into this a little bit in terms of the knock-on effect to the sector as a whole, and with reference to other educational bodies and the education sector. What ultimately is going to be the knock-on effect, do you feel?
I mentioned, Donal, earlier about UCD, and that UCD has completed a successful pilot using EdQ last year.
Yep.
And the beauty of the blockchain platform is that it's highly scalable. And EdQ therefore offers exciting potential as a credentialing platform to the university and higher education sector. It's also of interest to other professional membership bodies, particularly professional membership bodies who have a significant education aspect to the services that they offer. One thing that Sandra mentioned there was the word micro-credentials, and I think that micro-credentials and badges are the next big thing in education. And by micro-credentials, I mean tailored, quick, accessible skills development that have the potential to foster continuous learning, to increase the efficiency of higher education systems. So they represent competencies, skills, learning outcomes from non-degree activities. And the scale of these is increasing substantially because of the rising demand for upskilling and reskilling. And this is coming from both industry and from individuals. And it's all being made possible because of digitalization and the idea of digital badges. So I think this is, as I say, the next big thing. And I think in the world of work that we live in, where you have to really continually invest in yourself, I think micro-credentials which recognize that investment and those achievements, which can then be built into your CV and stored on a blockchain is a very exciting potential. And blockchain is the ideal platform for that. And I think it's one of the probably the most exciting aspects in terms of future development for the EdQ platform for the future.
Okay. Yeah, the reskilling piece, the upskilling piece is huge at the moment, isn't it? Particularly as we come out of COVID. I mean, it's only been amplified by that situation. So this will facilitate that even more so.
Very much so. And we say lifelong learning is our mantra. I've worked in financial services for 45 years. And I certainly can confirm that is so important. But it's even more important now because in the past, you might have joined an organization and they sort of looked after you. Now it's the world of work is changing so much, and there's a need to ensure that you can sustain your career by continuing to invest in yourself and your skills, your knowledge, and to make sure that you position yourself to be able to compete for the jobs that are not even thought of yet, because business models are changing, and particularly in financial services right now, but across, I think, so many industries. So that lifelong learning is just such a critical investment, and that's what we feel so strongly about in IOB.
Very good. And I know, Kevin, there's been significant support from both government and the central bank, I believe, for the project. Can you give us a run through of what that support has looked like, please?
Sure, Donal. And it's just we've received some great encouragement from the central bank and certain government departments. Right from the very first meeting with the central bank, when we shared with them the concept and the idea of the pilot, they were immediately supportive. It was just great. And that was really important because, as Sandra explained a little earlier, the EdQ platform hosts all the key minimum competency code qualifications, including the QFA. So their support was central, and it was helped us to build that collaboration with the main banks. We've already mentioned the endorsement from Minister for Finance, Paschal Donohoe. In addition, the project is supported by Minister for State with responsibility for financial services, insurance and credit unions, Sean Fleming. And he views the project in the context of government's ambitious action plan for 2021 under the Ireland for Finance strategy. He highlighted the potential of EdQ to build further resilience in the financial services sector here in Ireland, and to contribute to the wider EU digital finance strategy. These endorsements and this encouragement from these stakeholders is very important, and we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, it gives that further verification of the impact EdQ could have on society as a whole by getting those endorsements. It really does.
Absolutely, and I suppose they came at a time, particularly in the early stages of the project with the central bank. It was really encouraging to get that support in terms of the industry solution that we were building.
And I'm sure their fitness and probity team will be delighted if they can speed up the process that's in the moment to get pre-approved control function roles through quicker, control function roles through quicker, because I know that's a pain point at the moment in the central bank. So if EdQ can assist with that, I'm sure they'd be delighted with that.
Absolutely.
And Sandra, I suppose to wrap up the conversation then, what's next? Where to from here?
Well, I suppose, as we said, we've developed out the corporate portal in phase 1. So a second phase is in planning to build out the member front end. So that would be the digital wallet, which we'll actually incorporate into a recently launched IOB app, IOB Learn, which is our new learning experience platform. And as Kevin said, we're expanding our micro-credential portfolio. So we would envisage storing those and making them shareable via EdQ. And in fact, I suppose the idea behind micro-credentials as well is that they may be stackable and lead to an award or qualification. So that stackability can be catered for in EdQ. We also want to expand out the ecosystem by adding other bodies as nodes, so other professional bodies, other universities, and just to really realise the benefits of blockchain and that kind of wider ecosystem. We've had interest from a number of bodies, so we're in discussions with them. And then future phases, we'd also like to integrate with bank management systems directly. So rather than pulling down the data or exporting the data on spreadsheets, that they would pull data directly onto their management systems via API, and then potentially push data, as I said earlier, as well. So like internal training skills or competencies, they could push data into EdQ. So just to facilitate out sort of building that lifetime learning and career CV. So that's where we're at. Still a lot to do.
A lot done, a lot more to do, but hugely exciting.
Hugely exciting.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, both. That really kind of does bring a nice conclusion to the session today. It just really leaves me to say, again, a huge thank you to you both, Kevin and Sandra, for providing what I certainly feel was expert analysis of the topic, and a hugely interesting topic. So thanks again, and hopefully we can do a further session in the future where other further innovative projects, which I'm sure are in the pipeline, will come through to make a positive impact in the financial services sector. So thanks again to you both, and we look forward to seeing EdQ develop further in the future.
It's a pleasure, Donal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Donal.